Hi and welcome to the weekly market update. It's Tuesday the 8th of October 2013. Okay, it's been a relatively quiet start to the week following a quiet weekend. Traders still waiting in anticipation of what we might see from the US in terms of the debt ceiling. Still nothing resolved there, and we're still seeing the partial government shutdown and looking ahead to that deadline on the 17th of October as to when the US would actually start to default on its loans. So that's sort of looking to be the next date in terms of a deadline, and up until then hopefully we can see some negotiations and a resolve. But in the meantime, just leaving traders a little bit unsure of what to do, and so maybe sitting on the sidelines. In terms of data that we saw yesterday, really not a lot out. We just saw a dip in the Eurozone sentiment survey, but as I say, really not a lot else going around. This morning we've seen some European data. Saw German exports out this morning actually coming in better than expected. However, then we saw the factory orders coming out and actually surprising to the downside, seeing them coming down 0.3% when we were expecting to see a positive number. Otherwise, saw some French sentiment surveys, seen that ticking down as well, and some Spanish industrial orders, those also down 2%. So in terms of where that sort of leaves us trading today, we've got the FTSE around the 63.90 mark, we've got the Dow future around 14,853. In terms of currencies, looking at the euro dollar around one spot 35.75, in terms of cable one spot 60.90, and then for commodities, looking at crude at around 103.52 and gold around the 13.22 mark. So in terms of data for the rest of the day, we've got some US sentiment survey, but quite minor data. As I said, we've got this government shutdown in the US going on at the moment, which is meaning that data is all being put off. We saw non-farm payrolls, those didn't come out last Friday, and those are being delayed. We are seeing some private data coming out, so data collated and statistics by private firms, but anything that's government generated, we won't be seeing the release of that until we see a resolve and the government back up and running in the US. So into data tomorrow, from the UK we've got industrial production and manufacturing production, and expecting better numbers there for the UK. Also get the NIESR GDP estimate, that's for the 3 months to September, rather than the official quarterly readings that we see, but it is a good estimate, a good gauge of where we think we might be going for quarter 3. For Germany we've got industrial production. Again, expecting that to improve, expecting a positive reading to come in month over month. And then from the US we get mortgage applications, and then in the evening we get the release of the Fed minutes from the last meeting from the 17th and 18th of September. But as I say, no other major US data. From Thursday we get from Europe French industrial production and manufacturing production, expecting better data month over month, but slightly down year over year. Also getting Italian industrial production, and again expecting better data there. ECB also publishes its monthly report in the morning on Thursday, and then probably the main event Thursday will be the UK, the Bank of England, announcing their rate decision and also the asset purchase decision. We didn't see it last week because we usually see it the first week in the month, or the first Thursday in the month. Seeing it this Thursday, so interesting to watch out for what we might see. They're not expecting anything too different on it, anything dramatic from them. The afternoon in Thursday brings the release of the initial jobless and continuing claims. We still should get those out of the US, expecting a slight uptick in initial jobless and a higher number from continuing claims also. Into Friday from Europe we've got German, Spanish and Italian CPI data, so some consumer price inflation data there, and then from the UK we get construction output. And then from the US in the afternoon we get the University of Michigan sentiment survey. Expecting that to be fall to 76 from 77.5 last, so sentiment falling there. What we can attribute to that, I'm not too sure. As I said, we've had obviously some of last week's US data delayed when we saw the start of the shutdown, and as it continues into the week we will see a backup of data that will be due to be released once the government is back up and running. The sorts of data that we haven't seen and are waiting to possibly, or are due out this week, the non-farm data, we've got factory orders, wholesale inventories, PPI data, and also retail sales. That's just some of the key bits that we have been missing, just something to bear in mind. Another thing to keep an eye on this week is going to be the speakers. We've got quite a few speakers out of the ECB and also the Fed, so just interesting to keep an eye on. We tend to see these speakers and politicians moving the markets quite a bit now, so probably they're going to be the focus of the week, with data sort of taking a backseat to this US debt ceiling that we're seeing at the moment. Okay, so that's it for this week. As usual, any feedback would be much appreciated. Thanks.